Hi there, traders. This is Brad Gilbert with the FX Market Insight for Monday, the 11th of June. Now, let's just have a quick look where the major currency pairs are settled on Friday. Now, the only major data on Friday was dollar CAD employment numbers. It was a bit of a bloodbath. It was all over the place. And don't forget that a G7 was on and active, and there was updates starting to come through from there as well. And I'll come to that in a minute. But basically, the Aussie, well, it did drift lower, and then now it's sort of trading sideways. Most of the currencies leading this G7 summit did start to just trade sideways through some of these trend lines. Dollar yen drifted lower and then closed the week sideways. It's a bit all over the shop this morning. Euro, likewise, there's a bit of, well, with the G7 summit, there's a bit of US dollar selling first thing, but overall, sterling, euro, and even dollar CAD for that matter, pretty much most currency pairs have been trading sideways into the Friday close and Monday open. Now, this brings us to what the hell's going on. I mean, if you've been reading any of the headlines, you'll see some very loose activity. Let's come back over here to the main news channels here. What we've seen is basically, I mean, Trump's storm. I don't know if it's a storm in a teacup, but he's gone absolutely Burko. Pulled out of. He was always going to lead the G7 early. What he has done in the background is basically criticised Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, said he was weak and a liar or something like that. I mean, just something crazy. It got the Germans, the UK, everyone else up against Trump. So everyone's going to be pushing hard for these tariffs. Okay, they're going to counteract what the US does. Now, Donald left and he's about to meet Kim Jong-un in Singapore. But the rest of the G7 countries are left, very bitter, very upset with the way things have gone, and that's going to create a huge amount of tension all week. Okay, and this is the zone that Trump loves to be in. I mean, this is his forte. I mean, you've got to expect him to continue on this front. So we've got the major currency pairs; they're pretty much drifting sideways. Now, if I just come back to let me just get rid of that screen. Come back to where the technical side of things, because what we've seen is, if I just come down into the MyFX Trading Hub, I'll come into the data in a minute, but just coming down to the daily analysis snapshot, I mean, this is where trading gets tough, and you've got to understand what the trading conditions are like. The fundamental outlook for most of these currency pairs, like there's no clear direction on any of the major pairs at the moment. Okay, it goes for the dollar itself. Now, the Fed, they've still got a hiking bias, that's for sure, but that momentum is long gone. Now, when you come across to looking at the technical side of things, okay, we're starting to get really mixed signals here. So a lot of the currency pairs do have, a weekly trend still in play. They've got a counteractive daily trend, and hourly they're sort of trading sideways. So most of the currency pairs, technically, you're actually waiting as well. No fundamentals, no technicals. It's not a very good trading situation at all, right? The only one of note, and just on a technical perspective, to me, dollar Swiss is breaking down and looks like a good sell on just a technical outlook. Obviously, the US dollar is going to come into play there, and it's drifting lower as well. So maybe dollar Swiss is the only pair to look at. But I'm not getting too excited. It's Monday. There's all this news is pretty fresh. So I'm not getting too excited at all. Just an update on the next best trades from Friday. I mean, as expected, these two trades stood out. Euro yen and sterling yen, both sells on the downside, led to a little bit of profit. I think 40 points on one and 60 on the other. That's really came into play, and having those trailing stop losses did lock in some cash. Otherwise, because they basically came back to where they started. So that was a good thing. Now, what have we got going on? So you really need to focus, all your trading on what's coming up. Now, this is a blockbuster week. So if we come up here to the major events, you start to sort of really plan your week. And what we've got is, and it starts pretty early too. And this is why that G7 blow up is going to be chaotic, because we've got really good, strong, very directional data. We've got some central bank meetings and a whole range of things. So hopefully Trump like he does on most things, does a U-turn and says, oh, I'm sorry, yeah, let's get some trade agreements, because otherwise that's going to sideline a lot of the activity. Monday, coming into sterling, manufacturing production, a really solid number. That's backed up on Tuesday with the employment numbers, where the average weekly earnings is probably the major focus. And then we run into the US CPI. Then you come into Wednesday, we've got UK CPI, we've got the FOMC meeting as well. I mean, these are all blockbusters. So you can see, obviously, there's a key theme here: sterling, US dollar. So sterling itself is going to be extremely active. And this is where last month, where all the UK data was weak and all the US data was strong. And that's what we saw, that 8-9 cent move in sterling. So we may see a similar sort of move if we get that same distortion in the numbers in the US and the UK numbers. Otherwise, it might be just choppy. Then once you come back down through the FOMC, there's actually more activity, and it's pretty high impacting across the board. You know, the Aussie employment numbers, we've got some Chinese industrial output, UK retail sales, the ECB, which is, the market has geared itself up on, they've been buying euros thinking the ECB is going to come out and give them a certain date with regards QE. Well, funnily enough, these trade tariffs could blow all that out of the water. So it's going to be interesting to see what we get out of the ECB. No change in interest rate expected. Manufacturing sales in Canada. So there's a whole bunch of things still due for release. And if I just hit load more, clear the screen, I'm not sure if we've got some more data there. But basically this week, I mean, as you can see, US industrial production on Friday. So like it's actually absolutely huge. Now you need to sort of gauge what's going on in the market. Now, one of the first things you do, obviously, where I started with the technical side of things, you can see the four sort of correlating pairs, okay, just on the way they're quoted: Euro, Sterling, Aussie, Kiwi. They are all correlating at this stage, and you like to see that. Dollar CAD is out of whack. You'd think it would be down with dollar yen and the US dollar index itself. And dollar Swiss is pretty flat, but so the major currency pairs are correlating at the moment. Don't forget the news over the weekend with regards to Trump and he pulling out of the G7 communique, which is it's just not done by the whole idea of the G7. Let's get all the sort of countries allied with similar sort of economies and projections and ideas about things working together. Now this is all gone nuts. Okay, if you have seen any of the news, you'll see that the Donald, I mean, you can see how happy he is here in this shot. He loves it. He's upset everyone, and he's sitting there like a spoiled kid with his toys, saying, I'm just going to take them all home. So we're going to wait to see how this plays out. We've got a great week of trading, as I mentioned. The main thing you need to be doing at this stage is really coming back to your charts. Okay, have a look where the major currencies are. As I mentioned there, and we saw in the MyFX Trading Hub, the daily snapshot, there's no clear direction for these majors at the moment. So we're really waiting for that to come into play. And as I said, sterling manufacturing production is probably the key one at this stage. Just coming across, if we have a look, let me just come over here and give you a look at the yen crosses. The yen crosses, I mean, we saw the opportunity on Friday in sterling yen and euro yen, down through these clouds here. That was the major opportunity when they broke down through those levels. The other currencies, the other crosses, Aussie yen, Kiwi yen, dollar yen was heading lower, CAD yen had already broken down. Now what we're going to do is wait for these currencies to sort of form some sort of structure again. So at the start of the week, these pairs, you take the opportunity when it comes. Otherwise, you've got to wait for the trades to build up again. And what we're looking for is good technical setups to come into play, because at the moment they're below the cloud, which is going to take out all the Japanese traders. They're going to be waiting for it to get back up towards the cloud, and that's it. So anyway, yen crosses will be interesting this week. Don't forget Kim Jong-un and Trump met on Tuesday. So what we're going to be doing with that is, if that blows up as well, then you'd expect dollar yen to trade lower. That will be the perfect blow up for Trump. That means he's upset the whole G7. He's upset, He hasn't had a swing at China yet about their tariffs. That's coming up as well. And then he could be potentially going a loggerheads with North Korea once again. So, you know, at this stage, we need the market to settle down, reconnect after the weekend, and hopefully that gives us some idea where these major currency pairs are going to be. And then we can really put together some trades. Otherwise, at this stage, I would be expecting sort of false breaks both sides with no clear direction. That's sort of the general way these things go. If anything, keep an eye on sterling today. That's your best opportunity, but there's no need to rush. We've got CPI numbers, central banks. We've got lots of great trading opportunities. It's going to get very interesting as we go forward. All right, guys, that's pretty much it from me. If you have any questions, jump into Trade Zone. You can ask away there, and we'll keep in touch with what's going on. All right, guys, have a good one. Have a good week, and we'll see you in the Trade Zone. Cheerio.